Joe Columbo was an inspiration for young guys like myself, besides others that I know. But who would want to follow Joe Columbo, a leader like that? Kids in the neighborhood didn't understand the machinations of not following the commission. They didn't know that. A lot of people didn't know that at that age, but they were inspired to see everything Joe stood for on the corner, with all these cars, with all these people coming over, and the deference he was showed, and otherwise he ever showed. And you're a kid, 13, 12, 10 years old, standing in the corner. You know what these people are just about. You know what they stand for, and the amount of respect that you look up to them. Because it looks on the surface, he's only seeing good. When somebody gets killed, you read about it in the newspaper, or there was something in the neighborhood that somebody was murdered. But you know what? It was something that said, hey, they must have done something really wrong to get killed. It was okay. And that inspired a lot of kids to do what I did in that life. Want to be part of it.
This is my final question. When did when you watch that video, you see this neighborhood pride, all these, proud Italian people. You told me before that your neighborhood growing up was mostly all Italian. When did Italians start to first kind of leave that area?
Probably in the 90s. The mid-90s, there was an exodus to Staten Island. They used to call the Verrazano Bridge the Guinea Gangplank. There goes the neighborhood. There goes Staten Island. It was all cops and firemen per se. Right? All accountants and blue-collar workers, kind of sanitation guys. Then here comes all the Guidos over the bridge. And I think I told you that story when I had the argument with the toll booth guy. He called me a Guido. And anyway, and then the next bridge was into New Jersey when Staten Island got too crowded and, people sought a little more land. What happened was several things. Early on 18th Avenue, with all the realtors there, they were all Italian, just about, right? The word was put out and understood. You don't sell it to anybody else unless they're white. No minorities are coming in that neighborhood. You ain't selling. And if you're a realtor and you sold to somebody or thought about selling, you can have problems. Someone's going to come knock on your door. What are you doing? But what happened was when everybody started to move, and this is where the money came in, the big money factor. Like my grandfather bought his first house, $1,500, 17th Avenue, 86th Street.
$1,500?
Yeah, $1,500. And then he bought the second house a little later on for about, I think, $2,500, whatever it was. So he bought two houses on the block. He had a lot of money. That was a lot of money. And talking to the teens and the 20s, right? That goes from grandparents to their kids. Then later on, generationally, people stayed in those homes. And then they went to the grandkids. And now they're getting $1 million. People are coming and asking, looking to give you $1 million for the house you basically got for free. Because it was passed down through generations, most of the time with no mortgage. So what are you going to do? You're going to stay in the neighborhood? No. You go to better places, Staten Island and then New Jersey, where everybody's in New Jersey today. Mostly Italians. In my neighborhood, Freehold, Manalapan, that whole area is full of Italians for my neighborhood. And
what happened to those houses that your grandfather...
Oh, my neighborhood now is all Chinese, all Asian.
I mean, but did your parents sell the house or those houses? Or what happened to you?
Well, that's another story. When my brother died and the house was going to go to my brother and burned down, had a bad fire, legitimate fire. And my brother was fixing the house and burned out. Then he was killed. Sold the house to Spiro. Anthony Spiro's brother, Sally, bought the house. And my Uncle Vinny, when he passed, his stepchildren, he left it to them. He didn't leave it to his kids. They wound up selling, I believe, to Asians. So my neighborhood, Bensonhurst, now is mostly Asian.
Yeah, I was there.
If you were there, you've seen it. And which when I went back just to ride down 18th Avenue and see all the Asian stuff was very depressing for me.
Oh, it doesn't even feel like Yeah, I was there. I mean, I was kind of surprised. It's kind of almost has even a metropolitan feel on 18th Avenue. It was like very crowded, a lot of people, but it's not an Italian presence. Really got a couple Italian
And a
spots,
little here and there. That's it.
but just a spot like that one, like so. Yeah,
It was pretty depressing because you don't go back, and then you go back and you see a profound difference in what you knew growing up. I passed my house, of course, where I lived, my grandmother's house, and you see just the drastic changes. Not a familiar face, and but that's change. That happens. Secular things are secular. Life is secular, isn't it? There's always change. There's cycles, and go by 84th Street where I used to hang out, my friend Tommy and everybody else, and like I said, Joe Columbo's club right on that corner, and Malaki's candy store, and everywhere else over there, fish stores, just not there. It's massive change, but the memories are still there, RJ. Like with every human being, when you go back into your memory and think you're going to get the same piece of pizza like I did, and the pizza was horrible from a pizzeria that was great, Lenny's Pizzeria closing up, an institution, Saturday Night Fever, John Travolta.
Hiya, Tony. 2 or 3.
Two. Give me 2. That's good.
They used to have the what do you call that anniversary? What do you call that? When you go every year to something. I'm lost for a word here. I don't understand. But they would go there. When you go like for school, but you go back like alumni party. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Man, simple word. I'm sorry. I apologize. But they would go back there at the 20th Avenue and 86th Street when people would drive up and down 86th Street whistling the girls in their cars. Everybody got a shiny new car, going up there trying to pick up girls right on 20th and 86th. So that's all gone, and
It's like John Gotti told Junior. In the end, all we're gonna have is memories.
He always loved to watch other people dance. So he'd say, "Hey, John, come on, go up there and dance. Your mom and I can't dance, but you go ahead and dance." I said, "I'm not going to dance that. I'm not going to dance. So he told my wife, he says, "Kim, go ahead, go dance. Go dance." So she looks at me, like, "Is it okay if I go dance?" And I go like this to her, like, "No, don't go dance." So my father caught the move, and he didn't press it any further. Afterwards, he pulls me off to the side, never to embarrass me. It's the kind of guy he was. He wouldn't embarrass me. He pulled me off to the side, and he says, "What's that all about?" I said, "I don't want my wife dancing in a nightclub." He says, "Hey, John, let me tell you something," he says. "At the end of the day, all we're going to have is memories. That's it. And you got to make as many as you can. That's all you're going to have. You understand me?" And I looked at him. I says, "Yeah." He said, "Okay. I hope you understand me."
Mm-hmm. And nothing ever stays the same in life. It's never. It doesn't matter where. You can go back hundreds of years. Things change, and it's just the nature of life. I heard a guy who owns I'm gonna say how I don't know how to say how you say it. I say mozzarella, but there's a place in Little Italy on Mulberry Street that a guy makes mozzarella, like fresh mozzarella. Correct me.
Mozzarella.
But he said,
say mutz. I told you, say mutz.
Mutz. He sells fresh mutz, and he said he did like a little thing on. I'll send it to you, but they interviewed him, and I think he's been there since. And his mom was there before him, but he said something interesting. He said the fact that this isn't a neighborhood place anymore, that the fact that Mulberry Street is no longer a slum, that it's a metropolitan area, it's a gathering, area, it's a place, the touristy area. He said the fact that he's talking about all these little Italian pockets that used to exist that were like just cobblestone roads and lines on the houses, you hung your clothes up and stuff. He said he had a good perspective on it. He said it's proof that the Italian experiment worked. We weren't supposed to stay here. It was supposed to be a stopping place. We came here, we came over, and he said, but everyone everything that the Italian people did to build themselves up, he said it's proof that it worked, that we're not here no more. And that's how he looked at it. I thought that was a good perspective. That because if you look at all the other groups that were MLK and like we talked about Huey P and all these people, they weren't fighting to stay there forever. They were trying to get people out into the world to be a part of society, to be a part of development and have opportunities to be in different states, different countries. I mean, and travel the world and make money and get a job. And they didn't want, the fight was, let's get out of here. So staying there is failure. That's what they were trying to fight for development.
You know what? You opened up my mind to something, and you gave a good example. And I happen to agree. When the immigrants, of all types of immigrants came, where they settled, Lower Manhattan. Lower Manhattan was like landfill at one point. It was filled in land, and it was a slum. You're right. And there was a book and a movie, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn was a countryside at one time. Where I lived growing up, I remember farms in my neighborhood. There was pockets of land where people grew tomatoes and all squash and everything else in there. And they all moved, like my grandfather did. He moved to Brooklyn, to this place called Bath Beach. And a lot of other people, like you said, their move was from the slum out of Manhattan. The progression was to Brooklyn, to a nice place, tree-lined streets, because there was trees on the streets. I remember as a kid, the trees came down because the sewers, they were ripping, the roots were ripping things up. They took down a lot of trees, in the streets. The next jump was, like I said, Staten Island and then New Jersey. And the guys that lived in Harlem, you know where they went? And the Bronx? They went to Westchester, Scarsdale, or jumped to George Washington and went up to Northern New Jersey. The guys with the money. It was an easy commute to get back to where they started, where their foundations were, in Harlem and in the Bronx. The Lower Manhattan guys went to the other boroughs, Brooklyn, Staten Island. Don't forget, Neil lived in Staten Island.
Even you went out and bought a nice home, built a home on the water in Staten Island. Wasn't it Staten Island you built your house?
Yeah.
So beautiful. I'm gonna post the Google view onto the video. People can see it's right now. I looked at it before. It's very nice. Still, right now, it's all built up nice.
Never got a chance to enjoy it. My fault, but I never got a chance to enjoy it.
But as people develop, they want to grow. No one staying stagnant is a sign of. I mean, when you want to grow, that's why you hold on to your memories and stuff. But I'm a big believer that when you're holding on to the old, you're missing out on the new. So sometimes you just gotta just keep going in life, keep experimenting. And if all the Italians were still living on Mulberry Bend, living on Mott and Mulberry, and still living in those conditions, then they would have, it was failure. Then it would have been failure. It would have been laughed at. Would have been looked like, when are you guys going to get it together? When are you guys going to get it together? That's the problem with some of the things you see in Black communities. That's the people are saying, when are you guys gonna come on? You gotta get up out of here. So
yeah, no, but you're right. That's the goal. That should be the goal. But you know, RJ, I never would have bought that house. It was an old house. It was a real wooden house. It was built in 1922. The house needed to come down, and I had the means and the resources, time to make it what you're going to see. But if it was up to me, I was happy in that 2-bedroom rented apartment on 18th Avenue in the Bell Parkway. Really, everybody knows that. I really didn't want the house.
So you would have got this neighborhood. You would have never left the neighborhood.
Never.
You would have stayed.
I was happy living in my neighborhood. True.
Yeah. Okay. Good show.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions and a lot of input. I think there's going to be more input on this show than questions. I'll urge people to do some research. Go to YouTube, pull up some videos. There's a lot of info on what I talked about with Joe Columbo. If he's really want to delve into this and dive into it, I think I will have a robust live or two on this. We could even have a follow-up show or another or live on it, because I think a lot of info is going to come in. If this would be stunning, if we ever release this on YouTube, I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep this with Patreon AZ family right now.
Well, it's good that one thing I do say, like, I don't look at anything with a harsh judgment. I can look at almost anything to the point I piss people off. There's very few things I look at with like oh, fuck that. I think inside of everything, like, I don't really believe in absolutism. If you really love a person a lot and you're like, oh my God, he's my hero, he's the greatest thing in the whole world, you're not looking at him honestly. But oftentimes, if you look at a person like, oh, he's a fucking scumbag, he's the worst person in the world, you're not looking at that person honestly neither. I think inside of a good person, there's troubles, there's some bad, there's some things that are not. And inside of a bad person, or what you perceive as a bad thing, and in a bad thing, you can find a good thing. Inside of a good thing, you can find a bad thing. So, and I'm always attracted to, for some reason, I'm attracted to controversial people. I always find controversial people because a lot of times they say if you never piss anyone off, then you're never telling the truth. So controversial people are usually people that they're probably the reason you're pissed off because they're challenging your comfort, and people hate being uncomfortable. I'm so comfortable with believing this thing, and you're making me think differently. And people don't like being out of the average person does not like, they are very uncomfortable when you challenge their comfort. So, and Joe Columbo, I think it's good that we brought some airtime to a guy like that, because I always call them mixed bags. You look in the bag, you can find a little bit of everything. And he's one of those guys that he did a lot for his community. He brought recognition to, even if he was benefiting in some way. I always say, I heard a saying before, it's okay to use me, just don't misuse me. So it's almost like, even if he was benefiting in his own little way, he was.
There was a good product that came out of it, right? It was, or almost came out of it. It
Exactly.
didn't last. But you know what, RJ? There's a term called, and it's always in hindsight or decades or maybe hundreds of years later. Okay. Depends. The term is he was or she were a visionary. They were visionaries. Now, visionaries are unpopular at that moment, like you just talked about, right? In the moment, they're controversial. Later on, you say, wow, what did that guy see that we didn't see? What did that woman see that we did not see? And that's where you look into, like you said, that bag and say, well, let's extrapolate the good from the bad. Let's see what good came out of this, or what bad came out of it. How did it change? How does it change the path of humans? How does it change the path of society? How does it change the path of a group? Now, again, you can reflect on all of these groups that started. Che Rivera, right? Che. I mean, you go through history throughout the world at these figures. At the time, revolutionaries, activists, people who Jesus Christ. We start with Jesus Christ, can't we? Christianity.
There you go.
He died for it. You went from a cult to something bad to something that was around till today, thousands of years later. So they're visionaries. And you know what? People that's why you can't, I don't believe in going like this. You may not like what they're saying at the moment, but if everybody takes a deep breath and just say, why? What's the motive? Where are we here? What are they seeing that we don't see? If you have the intellect to try to look through that person, again, the motive could start out bad for them. It could be self-serving. It could be under the cloak of evilness at the time, right? In somebody else's eyes. You don't know. It takes time for that to unfold. And a lot as we know about history, it's told differently in time. Go back to slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Could be argued all day long. Right? What was slavery then as a norm? Of course, it's frowned on. But there were slaves of all going back to Egypt, the Jews, the this, the that. Just go back in time. There was always some kind of slavery. People were enslaved. So, but at that time, it was normal. And not to say it's right, but we can reflect on mistakes on history or what happened to our benefit in history. Where have they come through these mistakes? And those people need to be put on pedestals, the ones that were the visionaries. Well, I'm Nelson Mandela. I'll give you one. That's your wheelhouse.
I read his whole biography.
How many years did he do?
I think 28.
Who was tougher, him or his wife?
Probably Winnie.
Winnie.
Tough woman.
He had a tough stuff. She was tough other ways. But look what he stood for.
She was there when he got out.
Yeah. He was in prison for what? But he withstood, right?
Yeah.
And people acknowledge him for who in his cause was. So you have these people in time, vilified at once, glorified afterwards.
Big time. And and again, it's always in the moment. Again, a lot of people don't recognize, because we look at some of the praise that people get today, and we forget what they had overcome or what they have gone through at the time. Not Martin Luther. Muhammad Ali was not well liked while he was a boxer. While he was even after he retired.
While he was Cassius Clay.
Even then, Cassius Clay, then he became Muhammad Ali. Then he got involved with the Nation of Islam, and and then when he was viewed as like unpatriotic for not going into the war, even black people who said, "I fought for your right to be able to even get to even serve in the military."
Some darker people, some poor, hungry people in the mud. For big, powerful America, and shoot them for what? They never call me nigger. They never lynch me. They never put no dogs on me. They never rob me of my nationality, rape and kill my mother and father. Well, I'm gonna shoot them for what? How am I gonna shoot them? Them little poor little black people, little babies and children and women. How can I shoot them poor people? Just take me to jail.
You won't even stand up for me in America for my religious beliefs, and you want me to go somewhere and fight, but you won't even stand up for me here at home.
You're going to say, I'm not going in. Like, he was not. Later on, people looked at him different. Martin Luther King, Malcolm, all those guys at the time, as time evolves, I think I'm not going to get political at all when I say this, but a lot of people, when Trump first, I'm starting to see Trump as one of these people. At first, there was a major support of him, but a major resistance. He cracked a lot of the resistance that used to be really against him have softened up.
I am your voice.
A lot of the resistance. I know a lot of people, they couldn't get it then, but now all this time later, they're starting to say, you know what? And they're starting to kind of see things that he was talking about. A lot of people don't. Yeah.
You see this thing. Let's take just him. Because the time capsule is now, right? When he started in 16 till now, and the way people viewed him before he got into politics, during politics, after politics, supposedly back into politics. His story is not written yet. His moment in history has not been written yet. That could be decades from now.
She just died? Wow. I didn't know that. I just, you're telling me now for the first time. She led an amazing life. What else can you say? She was an amazing woman. Whether you agreed or not, she was an amazing woman who led an amazing life. Actually sad to hear that. I am sad to hear that.
And it's like everybody else. Those lightning rod people, controversial people, as you say, right? Very complex people. Their stories usually ain't written for decades later, at least. It's people, scholars, and intellects could go back and look at it, like we hope somebody could do with Joe Columbo's movement. Let's put aside what he stood for, was Cosa Nostra, and how he turns that into something else, another great movement on his own, his baby, his prize, that he knew. He had to know that sooner or later it's going to cost him his life. I'm sure he was sat down and told, stop, because that's what we heard. Stop, back it up, give it to the lawyers, give it to the celebrities, get out of this. And he did not. He paid for it with his life. One way, one how, somehow he paid for it with his life. Somebody was really that mad or afraid of the movement.
No, I didn't know that until we talked today. I thought more about it, like, because nobody will convince me that Martin Luther King wasn't killed by the government. Nobody can. I don't care who you are. I'll argue it forever. No one can tell me that Malcolm X, they always show the frontline guy. Oh, it was a guy who was, in the nation that did the Nation of Islam. You really look at it. No, they knew it was going to happen. Had everyone on wiretap. They promoted it. They had. I'm not going to get into it here. I would say without a doubt, those two, Malcolm, Martin, and I can bring up a lot of other people, Fred Hampton, all those guys. I think they were all. It's not what meets the eye, and I think you make a good point on. I never thought about what you said about why would the mob kill him in front of all of his people, 100,000 people, media everywhere, government everywhere, at Columbus Circle in Manhattan. Why would the mob do that when they can just say, "Hey, come on in, let's have a meeting"? Right. So you're right. It's a good point. Good show.
I think it was a great show.
Yeah.
Great. You did a good job. Now, look, if we could release that film tonight, if you could post it.
Yeah.
People will hear us talking about this now, but if we could get that up and, maybe any other supporting documents that we could put up during the show, after the show, during the live, I think it'll add a lot to this huge moment in time that's really been lost and not really talked about.
It's up. Your son has it.
You got it? Good.
Yep, it's up. He posted it. So, yep, it's up right now.
Thank you, Mike.
So, yeah. Close it out.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this like RJ and I did. It was a last-minute decision what we were going to talk about. RJ kicked a couple of things around. I had it in my head. It's some part of my childhood. It left an indelible mark on me, and so did that man as a child, an adolescent, right? And I think he needs his moment. We talk about John Gotti and some other people. Joe Columbo was one of those guys also. So I hope everybody enjoys this and looking for a robust interaction with everybody. Thank you, RJ. Thank you, Mikey.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. God bless. Be safe. Keep smiling.